All right, everyone. Again, my name is Matthew. I'm the moderator for this session, and looks like we're about to get started here in just a minute. First of all, thank you everyone for attending our first virtual conference. I hope everybody got some great information today. I've got a session here coming on what's new and what's next in Beyond SST. Cole will be joining us in just a minute. Actually, Cole's probably already on, so I think, Cole, anytime you're ready to get started.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending our CSC 2020, our annual conference. This year it was done virtually, obviously. We know that's been a little bit different for everyone, but we do appreciate everyone logging into these sessions today and getting a lot of that information. My name is Cole Ashwanden, and as Matthew said, Matthew Rausch is my moderator. For those of you that currently use BeyondSST, you've probably talked to one of us a time or two on the phone or through email. So we're glad to have you in the session today, and we're going to show you some exciting features for BeyondSST. And let's go ahead and get started. All right, Matthew, can you see my PowerPoint just fine?
I can see your PowerPoint now, yes.
Perfect. All right, so today we'll be going over what's new and what's next in BeyondSST. And like I said, we have some very exciting features to show you today. Some of them you may have heard through the grapevine or maybe at our conference last year when we kind of talked about what we're going to be doing. But I'm going to show you with a little more detail what those new features entail. So before I get started here, due to the number of attendees, we won't be able to answer questions real time during these virtual sessions. Please direct all of your questions to the Q&A section at the very bottom of your Zoom chat or your Zoom screen. Be sure to put them in the Q&A section, not the chat section, because all the Q&A questions are actually tallied and we keep them. We will be emailing everybody answers to all those questions. So all the attendees will get answers to all the Q&A questions. Sessions are also being recorded and will be posted on the conference website after the conference. Any other questions you have, or if you don't feel comfortable putting something in the Q&A box, please feel free to email us at sstsupport@sjcoe.net. We love to hear from you guys. We love to get feedback, suggestions, issues that you might run into. So the first thing I want to talk about today, you've probably seen throughout the conference, the name of our department has changed. We are now called Code Stack. And the reason for that change, one of the big reasons anyway, is we now have a full-time code development department. So we're actually training people. We have a kind of a college for training people how to code. All of the systems that we offer are web-based systems. So a lot of the people that go into that school are going to be useful to us for building new systems to support education. Same great products, same level of service. All we're doing is changing the name of our department. We're still operating out of the San Joaquin County Office of Education. None of that has changed. Real quick session agenda. Excuse me. We're going to discuss update notifications. I'm going to talk about recent and future changes in BeyondSST. And then at the very end, my moderator, Matthew, will go through some of those Q&A questions that we've got, and we'll answer a few of those at the very end of the session. So the first thing is, how do we inform you of updates? This is really important because if you're not getting those updates from us or getting those emails or notifications telling you of those changes, you might not notice those changes in the system unless you're logging in and actually checking for that stuff. So we do a couple things. We actually send out an email blast when there's big changes in the system. We also do system news items. Those are the ones you see on the login screen. So as soon as you go to SST online, sorry, that's the old system. As soon as you go to beyondsst.org, you'll actually see those news items pop up right there. We also have release notes that go into the Help Center located in the top menu bar in BeyondSST. So we have several different ways that we notify you of those changes that are coming. First one, the email blast, it'll look something like this here. This one just talks about a new feature for bulk printing, affirming, and exiting. You probably remember this feature coming out sometime last year, but this is just an example of what one of our emails would look like. And the next one would be, the way you can verify that you're receiving our emails is go to your account. So log into your BeyondSST account and click on your name. And then at the top right, you'll actually see where it says update email address and phone number. Make sure your email address and your phone number are correct, because that email address is actually where we're sending those email blasts to. Landing page news items. I know I touched on this a little bit. Every time you go to beyondsst.org, we'll always be putting news items here, letting you know of new features. You probably see one today talking about the conference. That's probably where you saw the link to register for the conference. So that's a very useful feature for us because we like to get information out to you that way. The last is the Help Center. And in the manual section, we actually put all of our release notes. So when there's a major release that includes big changes, we'll actually put together release notes and we'll put it here. That way everyone can go in and open it up and see exactly what changes we've made. And this is available to every user type. It's available to administrators, teachers alike. So now I want to talk about some new features. Like I said, these are really exciting features that we're offering. For the time being, there's not going to be any charge to use these new features, but I do want to talk about a couple things there. The first one is 504 e-sign. So with the whole COVID-19 and everything going on with that, we're actually adding e-signatures to 504s to help comply with the COVID-19 guidelines. And honestly, this is something that probably should have happened a long time ago, regardless of a pandemic or not. Being able to e-sign documents is something that's been around for, I don't know, probably more than 10 years. So education is kind of behind in that sense. So finally, we're able to get those onto the 504 forms at least. And once the 504 forms are done, we're going to focus on adding them to the SST forms as well. I don't have an exact date for when those will be available, but I believe we're shooting for mid-January. I can tell you that the development is 99% done. We just have to do some major testing to make sure that all of that is working correctly. So real quick, just to talk about the 504 e-signature, what would happen is, as an administrator, you can generate an e-signature packet. So it will look something like this screen here. And don't feel like this is a training that you have to take all this in right now, because once we're done developing this feature and we release it to the public, we're going to create a whole list of instructions. And I believe there will also be a video created showing you how to use the e-signature. So the way it works is, again, the admin user generates an email signature packet. The e-signatures are password protected. The packages will expire between 24 and 48 hours. I don't think we've determined exactly when they're going to expire yet. And the packages can be sent to different signers. So for example, if maybe you need to send it to the mother and the father or something like that, you could send it to two different people if you wanted to. So once the e-signature package is created, an email is sent to the signer. The signer can review and sign the document within the expiration window. So it tells them down here at the bottom. If you look on the right of my screen, this link will expire and it gives a date and a time. So it lets them know that they can review the document before that time. Lastly, the signer can review the document and provide consent at the bottom left of the form. Once the consent is given, the admin user at the district will be notified. So this is kind of the same thing as you're sitting around a meeting and you're handing a piece of paper to somebody and saying, sign this. Once they sign it, they've now given consent. Again, this was a brief look at the electronic signature process being developed for BeyondSST. I do want to tell you that it's successfully being used in SACE right now. So it is something that we're currently developing in BeyondSST, and we hope to have it out to you soon. Again, a complete set of instructions detailing exactly how to create an e-signature packet, how to use this process, including a video, will be made available once these become live. And again, just to pre-point this out, we're going to start with the 504 forms, and then we're going to focus on the SST forms. The next thing I want to talk about is the new user interface. Now, I did touch on this for those of you that were at the last conference, CSC 2019. I did touch on this a little bit, but we are a lot closer in development on this. We're starting with the teacher interface first. We're making it more user-friendly. We're basically trimming the fat because we noticed we got a lot of feedback that there's a lot of stuff in the system that teachers really don't need. So when a teacher goes in to fill out their forms, there was probably 10 or 15 extra things they had to click on or go through just to go into a form and do something. So like I said, we're trimming the fat and we're making those features available that are used by the teachers so they can get into the system, put their data in, and get back into the classroom. The redesign will look something like you see here. There's going to be a lot more drop-down menus. It's going to be a lot more user-friendly. The administrator redesign will be next. And the nice thing is since we already have that teacher redesign done, there won't be a lot that we have to do to the admin side to make that available. So I don't see it taking much longer after the teacher redesign is released to release the admin redesign. Now with that new redesign comes a new shared form design. This is something we're really excited about because currently when you go into a SST form or a 504 form, let's say you're teacher A, you go into a form, you've documented what you've done. There's no way to really tell who did that except going in and looking at the history there. But what we're going to do going forward is if you look on the screen here, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse or not. Matthew, can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, so if you look here, you'll see that Matthew Roush has actually checked this box here or made a selection in a field or put information in a field. And what this will do is whoever puts something in that field, it documents their name. So going forward, you'll be able to see that maybe you check the box, the science teacher checked the box, the English teacher checked the box, and that will all be located in that one location. So you won't have to look around to see who's done something. As an administrator, you'll kind of quickly be able to get in there and see who has done what. So again, forms track who made specific changes to specific fields. All right, the second thing that we're really excited about is the API. And the API is actually completely developed at this point. We're working with, I believe, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 2 agencies or districts now successfully using the API, is that correct?
That's right. We both just got them started. They're checking through their data now. A few bumps here and there, but everything's looking pretty good.
Perfect. So if you don't know what an API is, I'm sure you've heard it around your district before. An API is a form of integration that basically allows communication between whatever student information system you use, whether it's Aries or something else, and a system like BeyondSST, or you've probably heard of an API being used with SACE. So basically it lets you push information from your student information system to BeyondSST. Now the benefits of the API, it's going to greatly help with adding new users, managing student teacher assignments, doing the end of year process, and adding students identified as needing an SST or 504. So in the past, you would have to actually go into BeyondSST and identify all these people, put all this information in. But now your student information system is actually going to talk to BeyondSST and push a lot of that information that's already being tracked over to BeyondSST. So it eliminates the duplicate entry of key data, such as school changes, grade changes, demographic information, again, like stuff you've already put in Aries or whatever student information system you're using. And there's a lot of other information that it's going to help with as well. One of the big changes with the API is a new way to add students. So we've basically developed the API to automate the add student additions. And the nuts and bolts of that are a list of students attending the school the teacher is assigned to will be immediately available. So what's going to happen is an admin user is going to be responsible for saying exactly what students are eligible for an SST, what students are eligible for a 504. When that API talks to BeyondSST, that list will show up for the teacher. The teacher can then go into that list and say, add this student to my caseload, and immediately start documenting pre-SST interventions, rather than having to wait for that add student request. We've actually seen add student requests take anywhere from 2 weeks to a month. We've seen a few that are even longer than that, but that's typically how long they take. Even though they are made available immediately, sometimes it takes a couple weeks to process those. So this API is going to help with that. So when it comes to adding students with the API, once your IT department sets that up, the list of SST and 504 eligible students appear on the teacher's add student list. So it will appear and it will look like this. So these aren't necessarily students that are currently on their caseload already, but let's say they know Megan Abad is in their school site and maybe they want to add that student to their caseload. All they would do is they would click on the little green plus sign, and once they click on that green plus sign, that child is immediately added to their caseload and they can start documenting those interventions. Now, what we were seeing in the past and what we've heard from districts in the past is when a teacher would submit an add student request, even if it took a day, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, that's time that the teacher's losing that they could be documenting those pre-SST interventions. So making those forms available to the teachers immediately allows them to document that information right away and kind of carry on with the full SST process. We also have the improved SST to SACE integration. I don't know if any of you were in the last session that I hosted, but basically when a child is referred from BeyondSST to SACE, a copy of their SST is sent over to SACE for review. What they're currently doing is, or what they were doing was, it was only putting that PDF on the SACE home screen. And once the student was added, you could no longer see what was done for the child in BeyondSST. But now, when the student is referred over to SACE, it actually puts a copy of that SST or that 504 in the student's history in SACE. So that's one of the nice things about the SACE system and BeyondSST being managed and developed by the same entity, is we talk to one another. We're constantly making improvements to that integration piece right there. And we will continue to make improvements to that integration. A good question that came up in the last session was, do you see a lot of the information from BeyondSST carrying over to SACE? Well, that's something we're going to plan on in the future. So instead of having to duplicate that entry, you're now receiving that student from BeyondSST. Why should I have to put in all that demographic information in SACE again? It's automatically going to grab that information and put it into SACE. So I'm not sure when that will be developed, but like I said, we're constantly looking for ways to improve the system. Spanish form translations. Now, this is something that's already available in BeyondSST. It will carry over to the new forms design when we release that. So SST and 504 forms are now available in Spanish. Forms can be edited and printed in the Spanish version. Just so you know, districts or agencies are responsible for translating the text that is actually input into the form. So for example, if you're at a meeting and you're typing text into a text box, that will need someone to translate that information. We don't have an actual translator tool built into the system. But the nice thing is the forms not only print in Spanish, but you can also tell it to show a Spanish version of the form. So if you can, oh, sorry about that. If you can look here, you'll actually see that I'm viewing this form in Spanish right now. So for example, if I was sitting around a table at a meeting and the parents are Spanish speaking parents, we can be looking at this form in Spanish and filling the form out together. So it's a really neat feature. Again, that's available for SST and 504. I want to talk about advanced forms printing because that's something that is on the roadmap for after the redesign. In the future, users will have the ability to print only the populated fields on a form. Now, this is useful for both SST and 504 forms. When a 504 is printed, for example, only the selected fields would print on that form. And the reason that's useful, again, that will be an option. You won't have to print it that way, but that will be an option. A lot of times when you're sitting around a table at a meeting and you're showing the parent what you're offering their child, the parent might look at that as, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? You're offering everything that you can to that child, but they might look at it as, you could be doing more for my child. So giving you that option to print only the selected fields could help expedite some of those meetings going forward. So at this point, we've gotten to our question and answer section. And again, due to the number of attendees, we can't answer questions real time, but Matthew's going to go through some of the Q&A questions, and he'll read the question out loud, and then he will actually answer them, or maybe I'll answer them depending on what the question is. Also, you can email any questions or suggestions that you might have to sstsupport@sjcoe.net, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions there as well.
Yeah, thank you, Cole. Thank you. Yeah, we are, I wanted to say when I was listening to the presentation, everybody on the team has worked really hard on all of these updates. We're really proud of them. We know some of them have been a long time coming, but we're really proud to show our work. Again, thank you all. If you're currently customers of BeyondSST, thank you very much. If you're not, we'd love to have you come on board and enjoy these new features. So Catherine Wood just asked, hello, Catherine, talked to you a couple of weeks ago. When can we expect these updates? Like Cole said, a couple of them are coming online pretty quickly, like the digital signatures, I think, is probably the first one that is going to be coming online. Cole, does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, other than the API, because that's currently available, yeah, the 504 e-signatures will be made available next.
Yep, and we'll get everyone, we're still working out some details about this whole API integration. Like I said, it is live in 2 districts right now, but we're working on a way to roll it out to everyone else. So we will send out some information fairly soon as we have something, as soon as we have some definite dates and definite process down. But look for that. I know you all hate to hear soon, but it's, like I said, we're working on it right now. It's something we were actively working on today, or well, not today, but and some of the other updates, like for example, the teacher redesign. I think Cole, you said sometime after January. Is that kind of the time frame we're looking at on that one?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. I would say mid-January. And of course, that's assuming all the testing goes well and everything, but that's what we're shooting for.
Yep. So some of them sooner than others, but yep. Like I said, we'll try to keep everybody posted, both through that email and through the news page. That's really all the questions that have come through. But again, we've got a little bit of time left in the session. So yeah, if anybody has any other questions, feel free to post them either in the Q&A or the chat. We're monitoring both.
You can also use this section, the Q&A section, to give feedback, what you thought about the virtual conference, or any feedback that you might have about the system. We'd love to hear from you.
So Megan just asked, on the student listing page, can the triennial review date and 504 coordinator be listed? This will help organize case management. Yeah, we're still looking at the student listing for the administrators. The student listing for administrators may look a little bit different than what Cole showed you in the redesign for the teacher list. So there may be some more information on there. I know right now, one problem we ran into was just pure screen real estate. There was a lot of information to display and not a lot.
I think we lost your mic, Matthew. So I think we lost Matthew. What he was trying to say was the screen real estate was a factor when making these changes. We tried to build the system, the redesign, to where it would work on an iPad, for example. It would be mobile friendly. So when you're doing things like that, you only have so much space to work with as far as the real estate on the screen. So if there's any other questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them at this time. Hello, Matthew, we have you back.
Oh, yeah, I just got kicked there for some reason.
Gotcha.
You kicked me out, Cole?
No, I think I covered what you were trying to talk about with the screen real estate. But if you wanted to add anything to that, I was talking about how we tried to develop the redesign to where it's mobile friendly. So when you're doing things like that, it actually kind of reduces the screen real estate, how much space you have to work with when you're developing things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have to look at all kinds of resolutions and different devices. So yeah, but again, we'll look at that screen real estate and what's possible to display on that student listing. And by the way, you can also send suggestions like that to the that SST support email that's up on the screen right now. Again, we love to have input from all the schools in the districts. Tell us what you guys need, and we'll see if we can make it work. Let's see. Yeah, Megan, it would be great if the next review date could be populated from the accommodation page, not the eligibility document page. Teachers often forget to update the new review dates. Okay, I've never actually heard that suggestion. That's interesting. We'll have to look at. I know we did change how those review dates are populated. One of the forms is now kind of the master form that populates the other forms, and I believe it is that the eligibility form that does populate the other ones. But we'll look into that one also. Thank you.
All right. So at this time, I would like to thank everybody for attending the CSC. Sorry about that. For attending the CSC 2020 conference. Like I said at the very beginning, I know this has been a little different having it virtual, but we wanted to do something for everybody. We didn't want to just, not have a conference due to COVID-19. So we tried to accommodate everybody. The one nice thing about doing it this way is our attendees tripled. So usually we have around 1,000 or 1,200 attendees at our conference. And I believe we had, correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, I'm not sure if you have a actual count, but I think we had 3,400 attendees sign up for the virtual conference. So I'm not saying this is something definitely that we're going to offer going forward, because I think we'll always continue to do those in-person conferences, barring, of course, COVID-19 related issues. But we love being able to support people virtually or in person. So again, I hope you enjoyed CSC 2020. Have a good weekend and be well.